Welcome to the America 20XY Week in Review. Today is Sunday, October 25th, 2009. I am your host, Andrew Steele. Alright, our first story is from October 18th, and it is, again, regarding the G20 summit. Chicago police officers accused of forcing man to pose for photo during Pittsburgh G20 summit. This was written by Don Babwin for the AP. Chicago. The Chicago Police Department is investigating several of its officers accused of forcing a college student they arrested during last month's G20 summit in Pittsburgh to pose for a group photo with them. The department, which has been dogged by embarrassing allegations of misconduct in recent years, began investigating the Pittsburgh claims after video of the alleged incident was posted on YouTube. The video apparently shows about 15 police officers in riot gear posing for a photo with a man they detained kneeling in front of them. Kyle Kramer, the 21-year-old University of Pittsburgh student forced to pose with police, was returning to campus from a pizza parlor when he was detained by police who were rounding up protesters, his attorney Christopher Hull told the Associated Press on Friday. He was a college student arrested for walking on campus. That seems to me to make him a victim, Hull said. Kramer faced a preliminary hearing Wednesday on misdemeanor charges of failure to disperse and disorderly conduct. Hull said his client is innocent of both charges. The department issued a statement saying the officers were working in Pittsburgh on their own time, but that they were still representing the city of Chicago. The Chicago Police Department does not tolerate misconduct by any of its members, regardless of where it might occur. We have this story from the Washington Times on October 20th. U.S. scientists charged with spying, selling nuclear secrets to Israel. This is by Ben Connery and Eli Lake. An acclaimed former NASA scientist was arrested on Monday on charges that he attempted to sell sensitive defense secrets to a person he thought was an Israeli intelligence officer. Who worked in top government jobs from 1989 to 2000 and had access to military satellite programs and nuclear weapons programs, according to court papers that were unsealed Monday after the scientist was arrested at his Chevy Chase home. According to Mr. Nauset's biography at NASA.gov, he played a lead role in developing the Clementine Bistatic radar. The radar, which discovered water on the south pole of the moon, can be used to track ballistic missiles. The criminal complaint against Mr. Nauset cryptically notes that on or near January 6th, the scientist traveled to foreign country A with 2 computer thumb drives. Upon his return to the United States, an officer with U.S. Customs and Border Protection could not locate the thumb drives that had been in Nauset's possession when he had left the United States, the complaint said. Prior to that trip, Mr. Nauset informed a colleague that if the United States government tried to put him in jail based on unrelated criminal offenses, Nauset would move from the United States to Israel or foreign country A, not Israel, and tell him everything he knows, the indictment said. Court records show that Mr. Nauset was under federal criminal investigation over allegations that he defrauded NASA through the Alliance for Competitive Technology, a company he founded in 2007. Federal agents executed a search warrant at his Maryland home and the offices of his company. On October 19th, from Raw Story, we have this report. Capable of producing nuke within 6 to 8 years. This was written by Stephen C. Webster. A Washington Post report published Sunday is drawing a wave of cheers across the internet for revealing what is being hailed as the truth about Iran's nuclear program. Specifically, the report states that Iran is incapable of producing a nuclear bomb within the next 6 to 8 years, turning on repeated claims in media that Iran is only a short time away from possessing such a weapon. The regime's most likely path to the bomb begins at Natanz in central Iran, the site of the nuclear facility where over the past 3 years about 1,500 kilograms of uranium gas has been enriched to low levels, Joseph Surancion wrote. Iran could kick out UN inspectors, abandon the Non-Proliferation Treaty, and reprocess the gas into highly enriched uranium in about 6 months. It would take at least 6 more months to convert that uranium into metal form required for one bomb. Technical problems with both processes could stretch this period to 3 years. Finally, Iran would need perhaps 5 additional years and several explosive tests to develop a Hiroshima-yield bomb that could be fitted onto a ballistic missile. William Hartung, writing for Talking Points Memo, called the report tremendously useful, praising it as the truth about Iran's program. This means there is plenty of time to engage in smart diplomacy aimed at heading off this possibility, he wrote. And since there's no evidence that Iran is currently going full speed ahead towards a bomb, this timeline may be extended. The Iranian nuclear program is in much worse shape than most analysts had realized. The contaminated fuel it has produced so far would be all but useless for nuclear weapons. To make enough fuel for a bomb, Iran might have to start over, this time avoiding the impurities. Also, from the good people at Raw Story, we have this story. New York Times, is the CIA still hiding JFK assassination secrets? This is from October 18th. The CIA is fighting to prevent the release of hundreds of documents involving its funding of an anti-Castro group in New Orleans that engaged in well-publicized clashes with Lee Harvey Oswald in the summer of 1963. The New York Times reported on Friday that the files involve the curious career of George E. Jonides, the case officer who oversaw the descendant Cubans in 1963. In 1978, the agency made Mr. Jonides the liaison to the House Select Committee on Assassinations, but never told the committee of his earlier role. Jonides was the Deputy Director for Psychological Warfare at the CIA's Miami station, JM/WAVE, which was the center of anti-Castro activities in the early 60s and served as a spawning ground for figures who would later be involved in covert operations in Vietnam and in Iran-Contra. In 1963, Jonides worked closely with leaders of the Directorio Revolucionario Estudiantil and exercised a significant degree of control over the group's leaders. Former Washington Post reporter Jefferson Morley has been engaged since 2001 in a battle to learn more about the dual role placed by Jonides, which has raised suspicions that he was part of a cover-up. I know there's a story here, Morley told the Times. The confirmation is that the CIA treats these documents as extremely sensitive. In December 2007, a Court of Appeals panel ordered the CIA to reveal its files on Jonides, and some documents were released last year confirming Jonides' role in New Orleans. However, the CIA is still withholding or even refusing to confirm the existence of hundreds more. This past July, Morley wrote, "Last week I did my part to hold the CIA accountable. I filed my 6th declaration in connection with Morley versus the CIA, my ongoing lawsuit against the agency seeking records related to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. The Jonides files say a diverse group of JFK authors are part of the assassination story and should be made public. For 6 years, the CIA has refused, alleging their release would harm national security." Morley's quest has gained prominent supporters, including even anti-conspiracy assassination scholar Gerald Posner, who believes that the CIA's secretiveness is feeding into conspiracy theories. G. Robert Blakely, who served as staff director to the House Select Committee on Assassinations, told the Times, "If I had known his role in 1963, I would have put Jonides under oath. He would have been a witness, not a facilitator." Okay, and completing our Raw Story trifecta this week, we have a story, Pentagon used psychological operation on U.S. public, documents show. This is by Brad Jacobson on October the 21st. A month-long review of documents and interviews with Pentagon personnel has revealed that the Bush administration's military analyst program, aimed at selling the Iraq war to the American people, operated through a secretive collaboration between the Defense Department's press and community relations offices. Raw Story has also uncovered evidence that directly ties the activities undertaken in the military analyst program to an official U.S. military document's definition of psychological operations, propaganda that is only supposed to be directed toward foreign audiences. The investigation of Pentagon documents and interviews with Defense Department officials and experts in public relations found that the decision to fold the military analyst program into community relations and portray it as outreach served to obscure the intent of the project, as well as that office's partnership with the press office. It also helped shield its senior supervisor, Brian Whitman, Assistant Secretary of Defense for Media Operations, whose role was unknown when the original story of the analyst program broke. In nearly an hour-long phone interview, Whitman asserted that since the program was not run from his office, he was neither involved nor culpable. Exposure of the collaboration between the Pentagon press and community relations offices on this program, however, as well as an effort to characterize it as a mere community outreach project, belie Whitman's claim that he bears no responsibility for the program's activities. These new revelations come in addition to the evidence of Whitman's active and extensive participation in the program. As Roth's story documented in Part 1 of this series, Whitman remains a spokesman for the Pentagon today. Our next